anything to avoid it,
What's
even
that?
if it means crossing the country by bus. This time, though, there was no getting around it. My sister was graduating, and if I wanted to be there, I had to fly. Our parents couldn't make it because our grandma was sadly in the hospital. So that meant I would be flying solo. And so here we go. It was my first time flying on my own, and I think everyone in the airport could tell. I was sweating so much, I thought the airport security would pull me aside. As I got on the plane, I started shaking, and only once I was safely in my seat with my seatbelt on did I start to calm down. I thought I'd get lucky and score a whole row to myself, but as I thought that, a young guy sat down next to me. Damn. Well, at least he was cute. Maybe this flight wouldn't be so bad after all. Before takeoff, we had a slight delay, and the young guy next to me seemed equally nervous. But as soon as we took off, he relaxed and turned to me to start a conversation. His name was Brady, he said, and he was heading west to meet up with some friends from his college days. Oh, so he was older, I realized. No way would my dad let me date an older guy. Then I stopped myself. Why was I even thinking these thoughts? I barely knew the guy. He could tell I was anxious, so he touched my arm and said, "Don't worry, this is a pretty good airline." Then he kept asking me questions like where I was going and what college I went to. I lied and I told him I was a freshman in college. If he knew I was still in high school, there's no way he would be interested. We ended up chatting for a good few hours and I gave him my number. He said it'd be nice to grab a drink together during our time on the West Coast. I fell asleep with a grin on my face. I had successfully boarded my first solo flight without having a panic attack, and I even bagged myself a date. Jackpot! After a while, I woke up and I noticed Brady was nowhere to be seen. He must have gone to the bathroom. I reached into my bag for some mints and remembered I'd bought a new... He must have gone to the bathroom. I reached into my bag for some mints and remembered I'd bought a newspaper. I didn't normally have much interest in reading them, but I was going to be doing an internship later that summer with a local newspaper as I was planning on studying journalism. So I thought I'd better swat up on what was happening in the world. I flicked through the first few pages. Nothing of interest caught my eye, and I decided I'd watch a movie instead. But then, just as I was putting the newspaper away, I spotted something. There was an article about a serial killer on the loose, and I kid you not, the mugshot of the killer looked exactly like Brady, but it couldn't be. I mean, the photo wasn't very clear, but it seriously looked like him. The more I looked, the more I realized it was him. I could feel my heart rate speeding up, and I knew what was coming next. I was going to faint. I was seriously panicking. I'd just given my number to a serial killer. I pressed the emergency button above my seat, and an air hostess rushed over just in time to see me slip off my chair and fall into a heap on the floor. The next thing I knew, I was laying down in first class with a jug of water in front of me. As I came to, I told the air hostess that there was a serial killer on the plane and that she needed to tell the pilot to stop the plane immediately and call the cops. The air hostess clearly didn't believe me. She told me I had fainted and that perhaps I was just delirious. She ordered me to drink some water and assured me I'd feel better in a moment. But I was seriously freaking out. I refused to go back to my seat, and I was paranoid. I kept expecting to see Brady coming up the aisle to look for me. What would I say to him? The air staff started to get quite impatient with me, and they told me that I could get in serious trouble if I didn't comply with their rules about going back to economy, but there was no way I was going back to my seat. Eventually, we landed after what felt like hours. I was about to ask the air hostess if she could help me get to my bag, but then I heard a commotion and noticed there were police officers and security guards entering the plane. And then there was Brady being escorted off the plane. Turns out he really was the serial killer, and one of the air hostesses had secretly believed me and made the call before we even landed. bad. If I hadn't brought it to their attention, who knows what would have happened? And if I hadn't bought that newspaper, I may well have found myself on a date with a serial killer. And then who knows if I'd even be alive to tell this story. I'm not saying that you shouldn't speak to strangers, but just be careful who you trust. And if you have a feeling that something isn't right, always speak up about it. You never know. It might save your life. Have you ever had a close call like this before? Share your experience in the comments section with us.
Ito si Natalia, ang bibong 4-year-old famous vlogger. Kakayanin niya kaya mag-grocery challenge?
Subukan natin ang pagkabibo ni Natalia. Ito-challenge natin siya na mag-grocery mag-isa. Hi! Can you help mommy? Can you do the grocery today? Can you do the grocery alone?
Kakayanin ba ni Natalia?
Come on. Yeah!
Grocery challenge accepted. With Lactome 3 Plus, ready na siya. Ito ang mga bibilhin ni Natalia.
I know you can do it, but...
Good luck, Natalia. Kaya mo yan. Uy, manunood pala siya.
Sobrang laki ng grocery. Baka mahirapan siya talaga. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Worried na si Mommy.
Oh my God. Hindi siya nag-cover ng mouth.
Mukhang naliligaw na siya.
Hey, baby. Napaabot kaya niya? There you go. Go, baby.
Naabot niya. Go, Natalia, go!
There!
Nahanap din niya.
Isa na lang. Go, Natalia.
Isa na lang. You can do it, Natalia.